don't touch it.
It's a backup in case he's.
I told that Jerry should not take the gavel and hit that.
Yeah. No, it happened once.
I know.
I put something, that little white thing on top of it. Okay, I'll call this work session to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is video conferencing. This has to do with the Zoom meetings and what the state allowed us to do and didn't allow us to do. So there's a little bit of a change. Stephen, you want to walk us through it?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Excuse me, I'm still Clements. In the olden days prior to COVID, pursuant to Article 7 of the New York State Public Officers Law, a town board had to meet in person with a quorum. If a member wanted to call in or video in from vacation, let's say, the public notice would have to provide the member's actual location and advise the public that they could attend the meeting there. So said member would have to provide a beach chair for the public. In April of 2022, with the use of Zoom prevalent and deemed a proven technology, there was an amendment to the Public Officers Law, specifically Section 103-A. And actually that is, it's not an amendment, it's a brand new provision, but it's an amendment to Public Officers Law. And it formally authorizes the use of this new technology, but at the same time seeks to rein in its unfettered use under the governor's executive order number 11, which allows fully remote meetings, which is coincidentally set to expire today. I reached out to the Committee on Open Government, and they have not heard yet if it's going to be extended. They anticipated it will. But again, so that would allow us to have full remote, no reason needed under that order. So we're not sure what it is. As of today, this particular amendment, however, allows the town board to adopt a local law allowing video conferencing by a member under extraordinary circumstances, so long as certain conditions are met, such as the meeting being recorded, the member must be able to be seen. There's an actual quorum of physically present members at a location within the town where the public may attend in person. The public is equally allowed to participate via video conferencing by viewing and making comments just as they would if they were in person. Also, the public notice for the meeting must reference the use and allowance of video conferencing and where the public can view the video footage. And the video footage is uploaded to the town board's website within 5 days. Additionally, the town has to adopt a written policy in accordance with the above and other aspects of the subject law, and it must be posted on our website. So at the outset, the board has to determine, one, whether you want to adopt such a law, because you don't have to. Two, whether you want it to apply to the town board and other boards and the committees. And also you got to define what extraordinary circumstances are, which obviously should not include winter in Florida.
Yeah.
So pursuant to the law, this is not an inclusive definition, but they deem extraordinary circumstances to be disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes the member's physical attendance at such meeting. So we could basically cut and paste that list, or you can add certain circumstances that you feel would warrant remote. So at the end of the day, this is moving us back to normal. And if, technically speaking, if all the members are present, you don't need to have the hybrid Zoom. People would be required to come in here if they wanted to hear the meeting. But if one of the members decides to Zoom in, that opens the door, then it has to be a hybrid meeting. Public's allowed to participate via video.
I think our intention before the governor brought this up was to make everything a hybrid meeting now, because Zoom has introduced us to the public being able to go from Zoom. a couple of things I just want to clear up, Stephen. One is, if 3 members can't make it and they want to Zoom in, we don't have a quorum.
Correct.
Okay, right? That's the way I see it.
Yes,
Okay, so we could,
unless those 3 give their locations and allow the public to attend, then that could be an exception to the rule,
so realistically,
which that's not.
if Amber's in Chicago and says, you know, you're welcome to come to Chicago.
Yes.
That covers, that covers the requirement?
Arguably, yes. I'd have to look into it a little deeper and see like geographically. I think because there is, Town Law 62, I believe, that says that meetings have to occur within the jurisdiction. So if there's 3 remoting in and you allow the public from within the town, then you can probably have the meeting. But yeah.
All right, I mean, that's probably not gonna happen, but
Some of it, well,
No,
emergencies
yeah,
are likely to
exactly.
happen out of town.
no,
Like
absolutely.
caregiving emergencies. So, what you
No, but
just said
you're-
is a valid question.
But if it's just you or if it's 2 of you, we still have a quorum.
Right.
So then we can have the meeting.
Yeah.
And the votes count, and everything,
Correct.
normal meeting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I would suggest is just
Just
cancel a
okay.
meeting unless you have a quorum at town.
Yeah, right, definitely. I agree with
So we
that.
don't even get into
Yeah.
that gray area.
Mhm.
So the second part of my question, Stephen, is what about all of our committees? Do they have to follow this too, or is that?
It's your decision, the town board. You can say it applies to everyone across the board, planning board, zoning board, CAC, all the committees, or it just applies to us. I would think in this day and age, you should allow the other boards and committees to avail themselves of it, given COVID and people have to quarantine and things like that. But it's.
I mean, off the top of my head, I would think town board, zoning board, planning board
Mhm.
should follow this structure, and anybody else could, decide how they want to do their hybrid meetings.
Well, you would.
We're allowed to by law.
No, you would have to blanketly authorize, and then you could say it's up to you committees individually to avail yourselves. But the local law has to say it would apply to everyone.
Well, if it applies to everyone, then how can they
No.
change it?
No, they can opt in. You could authorize them to avail themselves.
That's just my thoughts, whatever.
Those are the 3 paid positions, the ZBA, planning board and town board. Everybody else is a volunteer, so to speak. And I know with certain committees that I'm on, and I'll cite the WMAC as one, once November comes around, the quorum will be out of town. So you would not be able to have a meeting of the WMAC with the current structure of the WMAC for perhaps as long as 4 or 5 months. And we are getting applications and processing thing and doing work. So, I think they have to have a different set of rules. I last night when we had 5 of our members present for CAC, physically in the room. I would like during the nicer weather, when people are back on the island, to try to encourage to have people come to town hall and have the meeting. I think it's just more productive, more things get accomplished. There's a greater exchange. The meeting just runs smoother than it does when you're on Zoom. Zoom is a great alternative when you have to use it. But I would like to see, Jerry, I think you brought up a good point. Town board, planning board, ZBA should be physically present. It is paid position, in town hall unless there's some unusual circumstance. Those things that you just talked about, illness, disability, and what were the other?
Caregiving.
Caregiving.
Caregiving responsibilities, and then there's a general one, any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes, and that gives you a catch-all.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Like for something that's unforeseen.
Yeah.
But Jim, I just want to clarify, as of today, arguably, there is no more Zoom, committees by Zoom.
Mhm.
You have to be a quorum has to be physically present to operate.
Yeah.
And then if you allow the committees to avail themselves of some members remoting in, that's your call, but they have to start getting back into in-person. That has to be a quorum present.
And if they are remoting in, it can't be for a winter in Florida.
Correct. It
It
has to.
has to be for an unusual extenuating circumstance. I think that that's hard fast. We think so far, or?
Oh, no. It has to be, yeah,
Yeah.
because we have to establish this policy and then they have to adhere. Again, the law defines extraordinary circumstances as what I listed and with that catch-all at the end, but you can be more inclusive. You can add other items.
So Stephen, just so I understand, the public can Zoom in no matter what we do, right?
Right.
We don't have to acknowledge that, do we?
No, you can voluntarily allow the hybrid to continue. You don't have to.
Right.
You as a town board could say, listen, we're present, the public could be present, and that's it.
Right.
You have to allow them to Zoom in. If any one member decides to remote in, then that opens the door. You have to have
I
a
think,
hybrid.
yeah, again,
But if you voluntarily going forward want to have dual, hybrid, and in person, that's your choice.
okay,
If it's, yeah, we should decide to practice,
Yeah.
right?
okay. Meg?
I think like, for example, the planning board, they have an engineer and an attorney that have been Zooming in. And I think it's probably more beneficial for them to Zoom in than for them to come in person when it comes down to like how much they get charged for them to be there.
But the voting.
So, but I think the voting members are all there in person anyway. I think they appreciate that. They prefer to meet in person. Same with zoning board. So I don't think that would be an issue.
That would be true for Jennifer as well in the grants
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest with you.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's an
So,
effort.
But
so if there is a quorum,
Yes.
because enough are, let me just throw this out. If there is a quorum because enough are present, and member, D wants to spend the winter in Florida, they can still participate, be part of the meeting. They're just not a voting member at that point, which means their value and expertise could still be utilized by the committee
Why are they not a voting member? I'm just trying.
because it's not an extenuating, extraordinary
right.
circumstance.
Okay.
Am I right about that?
Yeah, they could Zoom in.
They could Zoom in and participate.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be up to the town board certainly to say, yes, you're valuable and we would like you to continue. And the other members to say, it's not too much work for us because you're not here. I mean, there's a
And again,
negotiation.
that's only if you allow voluntarily to going forward hybrid. Because if this person is out of town because they're wintering and no other member is utilizing the video conference for a bona fide reason,
Mhm.
then they don't have the ability to Zoom in unless you have that blanket
Policy.
hybrid going forward.
Yes.
Right,
That's a whole different issue we have to
Yeah.
discuss.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How we want to handle.
I'd be leaning
People
that
taking the
way.
winter off.
I'd be leaning that way towards the latter. And but with a,
A blanket policy?
yes, the blanket policy. But with the WMAC, there's a possibility then you would not have a quorum to vote.
That
There
would,
there could be definitely 4 people out of town at the same time, definitely. Can be even a 5th one,
yeah,
but definitely 4. So that's something that we're going to sit down with John as the liaison and to discuss, before next November,
right.
Okay, so then so let's just start with the town board. So
Mhm.
if one of us, BJ's away, or, but although you would be for childcare purposes, if I
Or-
go to Chicago or Rochester,
Right.
let's say July 1st, then I cannot vote because I'm not physically present.
You can if you
And I
open.
don't have an.
It's other
Unless
reasons.
it's an extraordinary circumstance.
Okay, so if
I
it's
mean,
just
we-
a visit, then I would not be voting.
Correct.
Okay, all right. And so that's the same for committees as well then.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So then getting back to the WMAC.
I don't agree with what you just said. If you're going to visit your family in Rochester, that was the catch-all with the other reasons.
No, I would say no. It's any other significant or unexpected
Disability,
factor.
illness, caregiving.
Some parents are in their 90s, she's going to visit.
Well, again, you could put that into your definition. You get to decide what the definition is, so long as there's a nexus to what they listed.
Right.
Like you can't say, like.
My feeling is, quite honestly.
No. She can say she's going there for caregiving responsibilities, right? Then in their
Because
90s.
They
she's
should be
going-
checked on once or every 1 or 2 weeks.
I mean, the reality is, if a board member can't be present, there's a legitimate reason and they want to be involved in the meeting, they should be involved in the meeting. If they, just because they can't be here and then somebody's not sick or.
So is a vacation, a mental health vacation legitimate?
No. I would like to speak to that. Having been on this for 7 years, you don't take many vacations here. I haven't been on a decent vacation in a long, long time because of the job. And that's the only reason. But I think when you go away, you're away. Now, I've seen in the past, supervisors, for instance, before Mr. Silo came on, take a vacation and be gone for 2-3 weeks at a time around the world, being in Asia or Africa or some other place, person's on vacation, they're gone. They check their emails and maybe contact their secretary, but they're not part of a meeting. I would like to encourage, if you're going to have people that want to run for this job and stay on this job, you have to have some mental health time where you say, this is family going away. We don't need you for a Tuesday. If you miss 2 Tuesdays, it's not the end of the world. You've got to start doing that or you're going to burn people out. And you're going to discourage people from ever wanting to seek this kind of position. I just think that, you give it your all. It's advertised as a part-time position. It has become a full-time commitment of sorts, I'm saying every day,
Time plus.
but it has become that. So
Yeah.
I would encourage the people, Amber, you go away and go up to Rochester, you film. Come on, we'll, four of us are going to get by fine. I just don't think.
But Jim, I have to also say,
If I'm away for an extent, I have in the back of my head, that my mom would need me for an extended period of time. Well, even if I couldn't vote, I would still be able to stay tuned, to stay in the discussion.
The key thing you said right there,
away.
the key thing you said there is for an extended period of time. Vacation's a vacation. You're going out west with your family. Come on. No, that's not a vacation.
You had bona fide reason to be with your mother.
Right.
That's caregiving responsibilities. That's.
All right.
Yes.
But it might be more than a minute.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of this.
But I think also just that idea, even if it was a vacation and you did want to stay in the loop, you could, even though you couldn't vote.
Yes,
Because people can't get to your location.
right.
Whatever.
And I still think even if all 5 of us are here, I think that we should still do hybrid meetings.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, because I would miss people.
I think that's a new normal. I think that's the way,
I
that's
would,
the reality.
yeah.
Well, I think Meg's point is an excellent point. Because literally, of course, if you multiply it times 12 months, whether it's Jen or the lawyers coming to the meetings,
Mhm.
it could add up to thousands of dollars, in terms of moving back and forth and ferry fees and everything else like that. I will
I'd
say
like to
that.
ask Christina, are there any committees where you think if we just made it a blanket policy, everything should be hybrid? It's pretty much, we do that now. There's nobody we don't do it for except Taylor's Island, I think. Right?
The only issue I was.
Oh, no, she could be heard from back there.
Oh.
This is very sensitive.
The only issue that I can see with this is with the second part that we're not discussing is that if there is a hybrid meeting, you have to post it on our YouTube channel in this case. And so
Ahead of time, you mean?
The committee meetings would have to be posted on YouTube?
not all of them, but if this would be a case that somebody, if WMAC, right? If one member is constantly zooming in, there's 7 members, and let's say it's not gonna be the same one, but it's gonna be, on a rotation. Every
right.
meeting, somebody zooming in. We will have to post all those meetings. We have,
don't currently post, we are only posting town board,
yeah,
CBA and planning board decision-making.
exactly. But going forward,
Oh.
part of this, if it's a virtual meeting or hybrid meeting, you have to post it afterwards.
I missed that point.
No, but there's a difference between hybrid meetings and video conference meetings. Video conference is when there's a member
Which is,
video
she's
conferencing.
talking about
And
that.
you're talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's only,
Yeah.
So somebody's video conferencing, right? And then we have to post it on YouTube.
Within 5 days.
Which,
or the website.
So when you say post it, we just have to show the recording.
yeah,
We have to advertise it.
Is that hard?
yeah.
I mean, how time consuming is that for you?
That's That's the magic of it, like if it's something that happens once in a while, it's fine, but it's,
Yeah, no, this could be every,
Well, in theory, it could be every
this
committee.
could be every committee meeting for 9 months a year.
it's add up. It
Would add up, the time would add up
Yeah, so I mean,
on a clerical step.
But again, it shouldn't be because they should only be videoing in under extraordinary circumstances. It shouldn't be.
But I was just giving, I think we're talking to the idea
Yeah, but
that WMAC has a quorum here. 2 members are away, right? And they want to be away all winter, but they're valuable because of their input, because of their expertise.
They would be listed as a public, not as a member from the case.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So then it's still not a video conference.
That if there would be,
It's a voluntary hybrid,
that.
which is different.
Well, that's a fine tooth comb.
I know, I'm like.
I'm worried about that.
I just want to remind everybody that yesterday morning we had a meeting here with the department heads. One of the things
Yeah, this was finished. Yeah,
that we talked about was
Attendance.
and making the effort to come back to town hall. So we did trim that.
No, I know.
Want to be somewhat consistent.
I get that.
Asking.
But Jim, this is a discussion actually that's been happening for 20 years with the previous town board member. I had this discussion. If your volunteer pool is majority made up of retired people, you don't want to make it impossible for them to serve.
No, I get that.
Yeah, I get the attendance, I do. And especially, I just think that, yes, we want more young people. Yes. I mean, there's no question about that, but that's not how it's shaken out in most cases.
Right.
In most cases, it's shaken out retired people and they like a little bit of freedom in the winter.
Yes.
The bones start to ache.
But it sounds like we're hamstrung by the state law.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, because the state law is saying, we want you in person.
Right.
Unless there's an extraordinary circumstance.
Right. Unless we can work around with, having an in-person quorum. And that is, I would think that's committee by committee.
Okay, so we have an in-person quorum on a committee, and we have 2 members that are video conferencing. The easiest way to do it is they're not part of the committee when they're video conferencing. They're just part of the public.
Yes.
They can contribute.
Yes.
They're not voting members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would just save the whole,
Posting.
within 5 days getting it posted.
I
But
mean, I think the reality is we want to do this.
Yeah.
We want to do it legally. So like I tell you all the time, make it work.
And we want to make it best for the town. And there's a fine line, I think, that we're walking here
Yeah.
between attendance is really required. However, for some people, that's not a possibility, 12-month attendance. So maybe we can figure out a way to still get the benefit of their volunteerism and, that.
Yeah.
so, but again, at the end of the day, I think you want to avail yourself of this.
Mhm.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
And then we just work out the logistics. And if you need to hire somebody else or give somebody else that responsibility to upload, then that's a different discussion. But
Yeah, and another, so that's afterwards. Another issue is prior to the meeting, right? We have a responsiveness yesterday.
Oh, right. Yes.
So it need to be advertised in advance, right?
well, and you're saying typically all our meetings are noticed.
Yeah.
They're on the calendar.
Yeah, so the notice just has to inform the public that the video conferencing will be used where they can view and or participate in such meeting and where required documents and records will be posted or available.
When you say notice, does the town calendar cover that, or is that it? That's at the
town
notice?
website, we have all the links there and
Yeah, it's not,
They're there for
there's no requirement that it be put in the paper or anything like that. So what we're doing already is, but you just got to add that verbiage if video conference is going to be.
Okay.
And,
Have to include the agenda.
Yeah.
And any handouts.
Right.
Yeah,
Wait, not for committee meetings.
yeah, if that's a meeting, they're a public body, that's a meeting, and whatever they're going to be discussing should be available online for people.
we've been doing.
Available online,
Yeah.
okay.
Online or in person, it should be.
Yeah, so the only,
Okay.
The only add-on work for staff is if we have to start putting up the video of every single committee.
And they have to be,
It's more work.
And they have to be on the website server, whatever you call it, for 5 years.
Oh, really? 5 years?
Yeah.
And then how much notice do you have to give prior to the meeting? 24? I mean, like if, if it's,
And, but that's the committee. If we are talking hearings for the planning board, that's 10 days, zoning board, it's 30 days. So that's, more complicated. But again, those boards can be encouraged.
We do that now. We do
And the
it.
applicant takes care of the noticing a lot because with the mailing and the posting and the.
Yeah, but we do it in the paper.
Yeah. No. But that you're doing it anyway.
right?
Right.
I'm just saying that we would have to add in advance that there is a virtual option.
And again, a lot of this comes out in the wash because we're doing everything hybrid anyway.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So as far as the notice is concerned, it should always say that anyway, that it's gonna be.
Yeah.
You're gonna include the Zoom link.
Okay, so what's the next step?
Next step is we gotta draft the local law and also our procedures, our policy.
I'll have that for next week.
Yeah,
And then we'll have to
Public hearing.
public hearing.
yeah, because the local laws would have to.
Yes.
go up here.
So that'll be in July.
Set the hearing.
July 1st.
So it will be important for the committees to come back. Because mainly we still have people zooming in who are on Shelter Island.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
Coming in person, they're still up.
Unless
It's gonna be a tough step back.
Right, it will be. And if they don't come back, then they have to make their location public.
WQI's still been meeting
Yeah.
hybrid, Zoom only, so they're gonna need to come back starting.
There is a couple committees there, WAC
Yeah.
as well.
I think Green Options has also been
Yep.
only Zoom, so they'll have to come back.
I know I'm concerned about WIC because before we started all the Zoom, how did the committee operate if so many people were missing?
No, they were here in person and then the quorum was always present in person.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we always somehow came up with 4 people at least and then a couple were calling in.
Yeah, we had the call-ins, right, on the.
But now they need a valid excuse
Yep.
as opposed to they
Right.
just called in.
If they want to.
It's gonna be.
But no, if they want to create a quorum.
Yeah, it won't be an issue. We have to
Yeah.
anticipate that. I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So down.
Okay, so next week we'll have a draft.
yes.
Okay, anything else on that one?
No, sir.
Okay, next we have 2 outdoor assembly permits. Crescent Beach. And the other is Ram Design Homes for Bridge Street.
You want to pronounce the wedding?
No, that's why I said wedding at
So I'm just going to do a brief overview of the wedding at Crescent Beach because that one's not until September, but it is a larger event and it is right in front of Sunset Beach. But I believe it's in that strip of property that actually Sunset has the right of way to. So it's something that we'll call them in and have them kind of present on it. But it's September 18th is the proposed date. And it looks like 120 guests from the way they have it set up. So they have it directly across from Sunset Beach. They have an aisle and then a platform for the ceremony, and then 6 rows of 10 people on either side of the aisle. So, considering it's September 18th, I don't know when Sunset closes for the season.
Usually by then.
If this is like their last event possibly. So we're going to have to get with them and just,
They normally cut back. They're not open 7 days a week in September, but they do cut back to like Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of thing.
right.
Is this a Saturday, the 18th? Does
It's
anybody
a
know?
Sunday,
It's a Sunday?
September 18th, which makes it better.
So, I figured we'd get Sunset Beach to come in and talk to us about it and see what their plan is. They don't have a rain date for it.
Yeah.
Lifeguards are done, all the other businesses and stuff are done. So people even still want to use the beach and the water's warm.
There's still plenty of beach area going down the
Yeah.
beach.
I mean, they have set up from 1 to 4 and then they have the ceremony time 5:30 to 7:30. And then, or 6:30, I'm sorry, 6:30 to 7:30. It's a really dark.
Yes, hard to read.
Yeah. And then cleanup is immediately following that from 8 to 10. So it'll only take place during that period of time. It's late in the day. It's the end of the season. It's after the season, actually. So
What time's the setup start?
we have it from 1 to 4.
And then the event is what? I'm sorry.
The event is from
6:30 to
6:30, 7:30.
6:30, 7:30.
Yeah. Probably an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
It's just a wedding. It's
Just the
the
wedding
actual-
portion of
And then
it.
we'll go back to Sunset for the party.
Okay.
So it's just for the ceremony.
Chief, anything on your end we need?
The sun should be setting around that time, by the way, so it's during that ceremony.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah, Meg and I have discussed this and our group has also. I'd really like, I have a list of questions, but I think we're gonna need that group in. Maybe not necessarily Sunset Beach, Meg, but they could be a part of it, but the applicant, we would
Yep.
definitely want to hear from, and I have about 4 or 5 questions and you may have some of the same.
Yeah, so we'll get them to come into
Okay, so
a
we'll set
work
that up.
session. So just sort of letting you know that it's on the table. So we'll schedule that. for you.
Johnny, it helps. I think it sunsets last weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, And then the other one is Ram Design Homes. We discussed this one last week, I think.
Good.
And I talked to Julie a little bit about the option of moving the top hops, little beer truck, to maybe a different location, but they would really prefer to keep it in front of the building because it's kind of to help promote that business as well as the Ram Design business because they're just starting out. So they kind of wanted to try to keep it kind of front and center on this.
So small, it can almost go on the sidewalk.
It's like a tricycle.
Yeah.
So they want to do it from 5 to 7. And, the goal is to not have it be super busy the entire time from what you said. You kind of want people rolling through. Oh, Julie's not on. So
Yeah.
that's really, and she wants to do it from 5 to 7, which is outside of the permitted parking time. And they're not going to have music. It's just going to be the little speaker in the store. So it'll be quiet. It's not going to be a raucous event. And they would like to keep the hops truck in the front.
It's before the 4th of July, so it's not, the crazy time of year. It's promoting, local brick and mortar. So,
Yeah, first I was against it, but now that I see the size of the vehicle, the small scope of the project of the attendee, I just feel like it's not that disruptive. And the hours, they're reasonable hours. Those are quiet hours on Bridge Street.
you think we should all the rest of the persons down?
No?
Julie's spoken to, I talked to her and she said she spoke to almost all of them. And none of them had a real problem with it. She was waiting to talk to one person who wasn't in. But, we could sort of use it as a test case. How does it go?
Yeah.
It's
I
a
was gonna
smaller
suggest the
than
same
usual.
exact
And
thing.
if I was an owner down there, I'd be open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd want to know about it ahead of time so I could staff and stay open.
yeah.
That's a lot of, that's whatever, a couple of.
Even if we drafted a quick paragraph or two to the local merchants down there and handed it out, and then encourage them to give some feedback.
Yeah.
Because I agree with Meg, it'd be a good test case for to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because it's something to keep in mind because then other vendors or other businesses down there may want to do something similar. So it's important to see how this goes.
Yes.
If there are issues with it, you don't necessarily want to set a precedent that's hard to pull back from.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're calling it a test case.
but it would be, maybe as a test case to see. Because Bridge Street's kind of a tight area and parking can be a problem and, people crossing the street on the corner can be dangerous. So I think maybe as a test case, but because there's no live music, it's kind of a quieter type of event.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chief.
No, Meg and I both met with Julie and had a pretty lengthy discussion. I think Meg's covered all of those topics and I'm comfortable with it. And I'm not going to add any police personnel. We're just going to cone off the bend as you come down that hill, that curve in front of the gas station, just so that we can warn people that there may be some additional people out there during that time period. So I'm comfortable with it.
You mean you're going to try to get people to slow down coming down the hill?
Yeah.
You didn't see the sign out there for the last few weeks? Yeah, yes.
I know, it said something about, I don't know.
I was just texting you. I didn't know if you.
Yeah, so he was just thinking cones on the corner kind of across from Cozy's as like a slow down warning, and then that should be where we need.
Great.
So,
All right,
so
good.
anyone else have a concern about?
Can we, visit soon? Are we gonna,
I guess we need to draft the resolution and do a special meeting next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah, because it's,
It's on the, yeah, because
special resolution for approving this?
Yeah.
And for next week, we'll do a special meeting.
Yeah, and then as far as notice to the business, they're sort of getting noticed.
yeah, it's the 25th. The 25th is the
I think
event.
it's
So,
best if we all went
Down and walked around and chatted with the businesses and during or as it ends.
well, Julie's also going to send them all invitations. And that's kind of going to be like their invite and their notice. So, hey, this is what's happening. Please join us. You're invited.
When you have a
And,
party in summertime, always invite
so-
your neighbors.
So everyone's going to get one down
I
there.
did in college, too.
So everyone will get noticed from her too. So it should be, I think it'll be all right.
Oh, look at the rest of the meeting. It's all about Reed Karen.
And it's, let's say this, Dottie, this is a resolution you can draft up for next week, correct? She usually does those ones. so.
Oh,
Yeah. She's nodding yes. All righty. Thank
okay.
you.
All right, okay, good. Okay, so next week we're gonna have resolution and we're gonna have.
So yeah, we'll do a special meeting to approve that.
Okay, next on the list, we asked Reed Karen to come in from the building department for a couple things.
Okay,
We'll start with the
let me hear.
one on the agenda, wherever you want.
Want to sit?
Let's see, you can join us.
That's open.
Why don't you?
You can say my mask.
Might as well move the podium so we can see you.
Scope creep over there.
Hi.
Okay, so Reed, I guess we'll start with a Cozy Lane update. That's the house that we've been trying to
Yeah,
notify the owner that it's a dangerous house.
yeah, and it's good that we're running through this because we've got another one.
That's why I was gonna say we have a few things to discuss, yeah.
I went back. It is certainly no better than it was. It's worse, just more sag, more water damage.
Reed, when did you go back? What date?
I'm trying to remember. I
10
don't.
days ago, maybe?
May 9th?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, more like May 9th. More like, I don't have it.
You have it written somewhere.
I have it in my folder.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Forgot something.
Thanks.
We only have like 4 items on the agenda for you.
Yeah, so I went back and it's all, since Chris went there, it's been surrounded by the fence. And so I couldn't gain access to the building, but I had binoculars and I looked. Seems like things inside are certainly in worse condition just because of water.
Most of the insulation is down
Yeah,
from the walls and the ceilings.
yeah.
And the beam across the top of them is compromised severely, and it buckles more and more as.
It seems like there's definitely an area
Oh, yeah.
where ceilings that go in
Yeah.
the center.
I think if you got a good heavy wet snow, that could be the difference, on the roof caving in.
Yeah,
And the back door has been open, as most people realize, for at least 2.5 years. And the reason it was open is I think when the roof was compromised, it wedged the door open, and people have tried to shut them. You can't do it without pulling the door off the hinges, perhaps. I mean, it's sagged down, so you can't close the back door. So therefore, we would think that critters have been in and out of that house constantly.
Yeah, you can.
The condition, yeah, you can see the roof, the way it sags there. The porch is up above. You couldn't safely enter into that house anyhow without going through some of those boards. Those boards are all weakened front and back. The best part of the house is actually the side on the south side of the garage, which is in probably the best condition. I will tell you that I sent you pictures of it the other day, that the house is, the grass is unmaintained. So that Brian had been going in once or twice a year to cut the lawn to get it down to a reasonable size and pick up all the dead limbs. And some of them were significant limbs. So, and we just charged that and put a lien against the house on the work that the town did we've done that for, I believe, 2.5 years since, the fence has been up for the last couple of years. It needs to be straightened out again. If there's going to be any long period of time between then and taking down the house, which I assume that it's, I just had a meeting with Silver Beach Association and I tried to advertise to the people that don't count on this house being dismantled during the course of the summer for a number of reasons. And that the earliest that would happen is probably in the fall. It's going to take some additional time to notify, go through channels, and make sure we dot the i's and cross the t's, do this 100% correctly. So there is no, I just think people that live around there, they ask for one thing, and if the town could come in just one time, and get the house, to get as straightened up as you possibly can, it is what it is.
So
We need to do an asbestos inspection.
Yeah.
Before they tear it down.
Yes, yeah.
We're always,
Oh, wait, Reed, can I just ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
What, if any, code provisions are violated right now?
Unsafe structure.
No, it's
Oh,
The Frisbee.
in your report.
in my report.
Just state for the record, like you put it at the end of your report.
Property maintenance code, section 304.1.18 requires that roof components having defects that allow rain to enter the building constitutes an unsafe condition. 302.7 of the property maintenance code requires that all accessory structures be maintained as structurally sound and in good repair. The front and rear decks are covered by deck boards that have rotted through, posing a full trip hazard. The lawn is overgrown, covered with weeds in excess of 10 inches, which is a violation of 302.4 of the New York Property Maintenance Code. The primary one is Property Maintenance Code 107.1.1. Any portion of a building that has been damaged due to deterioration and neglect that may be likely to partially or completely collapse is considered an unsafe structure. And it's, by the chapter 1 of the Property Maintenance Code, it's a structure that's unfit for human occupancy due to the degree which the structure is in disrepair and has lacked maintenance. That's the definition of unsafe structure.
All right, and you said previous building inspectors went out and issued similar reports.
Yeah, Christine did. He was dealing with it up until he left.
Right. And the first start when
it's just been going on.
2017 is when the first, this is about 5 years from the initials time, but that inspection that Christine did, I believe was done in either 2018 initially and then again in 2019. And the reason why you wanted to re-inspect it is it hadn't been re-inspected for the last several years. So you ordered a re-inspection on that, which is why we.
Well, he's been back. I know he's been back since then. He's been back relatively recently. Christine, he did an inspection. He tried to get in touch with him, and then we had a whole back and forth with Bob. And Bob, I believe it was Bob, tried to serve him. And did they actually?
Yes, they served him. Yes.
response from it.
No.
But again, we're moving on from that one and we're starting anew with this report. So it's your determination that the building or structure is dangerous and unsafe, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely.
And your opinion as to what caused that condition was
Just, deterioration due to lack of maintenance over a long period of time.
and what would your recommendation for correction be? Would it be, is it repairable or would you deem it beyond repair?
I mean, really you'd have to talk to an engineer about that, but at
Just
this
your
point,
opinion.
it's to repair it at this point. The
Who knows what-
remediation, and if you've got animals in there, it's.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I think you need an engineer to make that kind of determination. And I will tell you that as more as 4 or 5 years ago, when he was notified, and he was notified, and he responded back about the condition of the roof, he informed Chris that he was going to have that taken care of, so that there was going to be remediated. He had a guy, he contacted a guy, contractor was going to come in, replace the roof. That's what initially caused the beginning of that problem. Is there were leaks in the house and leaks coming through the roof, and the roof line was okay then. But through the course of years and years and years of neglect and no, actually what happened was there was a blue tarp that was put on there with sandbags. And that blew off within the sandbags deteriorated. And when the sandbags deteriorated, the wind took the blue tarp and blew it, ripped it up into bits and pieces. And the neighbors in the next 6 months picked up blue tarp all over their property. It was a large tarp, a tarp, one that would fill this room. You know, when you put it over the top of the house, it was from the front to the back, and it ripped up into many, many pieces. And then since then, more and more water damage has occurred, and this is what has resulted.
So what's the procedure?
Okay, the next step is we're gonna have to issue a resolution directing him, building inspector, to serve notice. Now, we can have an agent on his.
So we have this already.
No, but the prior report, we're starting from scratch. So this is a new report. We issue the resolution that he has to serve notice, be done personally or nail and mail. And that notice basically says that you have to bring your property into compliance within 30 days from service. If not, we're gonna have a hearing. So if it's not repaired within that 30-day period, we'll have a hearing. And after the hearing, he doesn't come or whatever, and it's deemed unsafe, then we could take the action to either repair it or have it demolished.
Right, so Stephen, let's say we follow this procedure, we serve the papers, he accepts them, and we never hear anything.
No, we go forward with our hearing.
We go forward?
If there's not compliance within 30 days after service, go forward with the hearing. If he doesn't come to the hearing, you issue a resolution directing the highway superintendent to remove it.
The only difference I would like to see with the first procedure and the second procedure is the company with the photographs that you've taken. Because the first time the photographs, what I'd asked Bob to put photographs in there are no photographs. Sometimes you actually have to see your property, look at that damage, because that's powerful. People may think up there saying, well, I have some time. It's got a couple leaks in the house. If you really were to photograph that house carefully, there's a tremendous amount of damage. It would cost you well beyond. I mean, if he demolished it and rebuilt it, it would be less money than to try to remediate.
Yeah.
In my opinion, my humble opinion, I'm not an engineer,
No,
but there is big time mold in that house. There's no doubt about it. You can see the black.
Yes, definitely photos will be included.
Yes. The more photos and the
compelling.
yes.
Make it exhibits.
Have to worry about trespassing with photos?
No, you can take them from
a public vantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is, what if at a certain point it's deemed that we are planning on demolishing it, then maybe we should, warrant go in and take pictures just to document what the condition of.
Oh, is that, yes, that's
Just as a cover your.
a warrant.
We can
talk it with the chief?
we can explore that.
The other thing is, Stephen, if I can understand that.
It wouldn't be with the chief, it would be with us administrative.
Yeah, I can understand that a layperson, neighbors walking on property and take it, but wouldn't the building department, since they have done inspections of up close, have to get on the property to actually see some of that damage? Couldn't they take those photographs from?
They could. Okay, the rule of thumb is an enforcement officer can go wherever a mailman can go.
Okay,
Amazon driver.
right.
So like you can walk to the front door.
Correct.
And you could arguably walk, like say if you could tell that the front door is never used and it's the garage entrance that's used in the back, but typically you can walk to the front door.
Okay.
Take pictures.
Okay.
And you're allowed to observe whatever you see from.
Correct, from that vantage.
there, but you're not allowed to just go on the property.
Okay.
The only caveat to that is if it was a clear and present danger,
Yes.
then he could be able to, he would be able to go in there. But that's not the case here.
Yeah, if there's a fire.
Because it's not occupied. If it was occupied and say it was occupied right now, I would argue I'd have to, and again, with the caveat that I have to do further research, but I would say that he has a colorful argument to get in there if it was occupied.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so again, the next step is you're going to draft the resolution.
Yes.
Okay.
So now is that a resolution we want to add on to next week's special meeting, or can it wait until July 1st?
Should it?
To serve them? It's a
No, we
resolution
could
to
do,
serve them?
we could, yeah, we could do the rest of the special,
And then that's what authorizes
just the notice.
to issue an order to remedy.
Right. And that's,
Yes,
gets and the 30 days starts to tick when?
once he's served.
Okay.
We had another one that actually.
It's getting there?
Worse.
Really?
Yeah,
So how did this one, I mean, I'm aware of it. How did it come about?
the other one?
How did we become aware of it?
Well, we were made, it actually came up right after I first was hired, which is almost 6 years ago, but it's tucked way back. It's off Cartwright Road up Curve Drive. And we went up there after receiving a complaint. We tried to reach the owner. They live in Staten Island, as I recall, the White family. I think the woman has passed away because I dug around and I found an obituary for somebody who sounds like this person. We sent certified letters, nothing. And I believe the certified letters were accepted, but then nothing ever happened. It's a very similar situation. But because it's tucked back in the woods there.
Nobody sees it.
It's not as big of an issue. But some people moved into a house nearby, adjacent to it, cleared their lot. They've done a renovation. Now they complained again. And I went up there with Chris. I was kind of his camera handler shortly after I started. And he had started the process again. But I think it's time to do something because it's at this point, actually, one whole wall of the house has fallen out.
Oh, wow.
It's bad.
It's in worse shape than Cozy Lane.
It's
Oh,
way
wow.
worse shape.
And how,
If any kid, that's an attractive, what do you call that attractive?
Well, this is really, it's been lived in by raccoons for a while.
Yeah.
So before we just go
I said
any
Mike.
further on this one, how about you just do a report similar to that you did? So we could maybe bring it back to the next work session. And,
Please.
I sent Michael up there because I thought it would be and he went up and took some pictures. So maybe
and you
I'll go
checked
up.
with the tax receiver's office?
Yeah, someone's been paying the taxes. I believe that's right. Yeah.
I think on both properties, by the way.
Yeah.
I think the Cozy
Yeah.
Lane, same thing.
Okay. All right, so you'll write something up for us?
Sure.
Okay. Anything else on dangerous houses?
No danger, nothing.
Okay. The other thing, we had gotten a letter from Mary Ellen last week about the irrigation and the process and what's going on with that. So I asked the town engineer to charge the WAC with looking at the irrigation law and seeing, me doing my homework. The initial intent in 2004, I think it was to have a grandfathered clause for irrigation systems that was going to sunset in 2013. And there was a lot of opposition from the people that had irrigation systems. And the town board said, okay, we'll do it. So the intent was to shut down irrigation systems. We have, I think on my list, 84 grandfathered systems and 34 systems that put cisterns in. So I think, depending on what the WAC recommends, it's an issue. I know what I think we should do, but I'm going to wait to hear from the WAC. Okay.
I have certain opinions about it based on just enforceability.
Yeah.
It's as it is, it's virtually impossible.
Yep. Mhm.
It's interesting when they first came up with the cisterns, they put the cisterns in front so they'd be easy to fill. Now they put them in back because they're easy to fill with a hose.
Oh,
It's,
geez.
You don't ask for receipts from the.
Well, we ask for receipts, but in other words, you can't prove a negative. You can't prove that they're, and so what ends up happening is the first year we had one guy several years ago who spent over $70,000, and he was a true believer. He was a good guy, and he had deep enough pockets that he could afford to be good about it. So it was over $70,000 for 1 year. The next year, he didn't bring in 70, and we can't say, I asked about it, I think at one point or another, and he said, oh, we didn't use as much water this year. We only used, one load. So that's the thing is now they use one load and then they top it off from there. And we have the only way to verify it would be with a flow meter on the outlet of the, and even that would,
Is
Yeah.
you can.
So really, the only way, in my understanding, that flow meters would work was for the cisterns. What's
yes.
the point of putting it on somebody's house, and then you're gonna say, oh, you use too much water, but it's just that you have to bring the water in so we can prove that the water wasn't there, whereas a homeowner, a well, what's the meter gonna tell you?
Put it on the irrigation system between where it
Yeah.
leaves the,
But even so,
the
what are
beginning
we
of the
gonna say?
irrigation
You
system.
watered you on too much? That's what I'm
Right, I mean,
saying.
Right, well,
that's the
that's
thing, the enforcement,
you
it
could-
doesn't
That's what I
make.
mean.
You could know how bad it is,
Yeah,
but I mean,
But then what do you do with that knowledge?
Yeah,
Exactly.
where's your benchmark?
it would only be useful to the,
Systems, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for systems.
yeah.
because then they would have to supply documentation.
Yeah.
On the other hand, that's the kind of thing people are not about faking, and it just becomes sort of an enforcement nightmare.
Comes a game.
But
But if it's,
Well,
but if it's a game that you win 50% of the time, that the town wins, that the aquifer wins 50% of the time, is it a game worth playing? And I don't mean to characterize it as a game, but I think from some citizens' point of view, it's a game.
Do we license the water delivery guys?
No,
They should get it. They should need a town license, contractor's license, and susceptible to losing it if they're just signing things that they're not doing.
Couldn't we maybe task Joe Fenora with maybe a little study in terms of, there are other places who face water issues. Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Block Island, let's just name the usual suspects. And how do they handle it? How do they limit this? Nantucket, it's obvious that on Nantucket, you're a fool if you have green grass. You're not fooled. Nobody's going to invite you to their parties. Everybody has beachscape. But I think in Martha's Vineyard, that's not so true. So I'm just wondering if there's a way or have.
WAC to get involved.
Have other towns figured it out, how to get somewhat enforcement ability.
and one of the big problems that I see is just, there's several cases where somebody who's had an irrigation system, they close it up for the winter and one of the pipes breaks, just runs old. We have that at, there's a house that's sold to, there's already problems because there's an adjacent house with an illegal system. And then across the street, the neighbor had a massive system that was licensed, that was permitted, and it ran all winter through the bulkhead. And they think it was hundreds of thousands of. We had a similar one that was actually, where we find them is when they're on Heights Water or on West. Right. And there've been a couple on West. And they were all hundreds of thousands of. There was one that we identified, Montclair, and that's what's sold down in Montclair at the end of Montclair.
On the Heights too, I remember.
Yeah, there's one in the Heights. There was Scudder Cottages, but that was the water.
I know even on where the roadway is behind everybody's house there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is nobody's around them.
Yeah.
Run. And the one in Montclair, was the last straw for there were about 4 houses that don't have water.
So in doing my homework, why the
Town board chose to drop the sunset.
there was a public meeting and it was brought up that there was no science to prove that, there was a problem that they needed, if you can prove it to us. So I asked Joe Fenora, what, in his estimate, what's the problem? And he said, it's not that we're going to take the quantity of water away, it's the quality. These all draw in salt water eventually, and not only salt the homeowner, but they could potentially salt the neighbors too.
That happened on Little Round.
So Joe felt very comfortable that we can,
I mean,
have the science to back it.
That's eighth grade science project level.
Yeah.
And Yeah, no, and you know, we spend all this time at town meetings arguing about a bath, an extra bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
extra Bedroom,
Right.
and there's no comparison. This
That's
is-
kind of one of the reasons I brought this up. You know, we're discussing, just as Reed said, you know, all these water issues and how can we conserve and how can we do it? Well, this is, you know, kind of a slam, but, and I'm a guy that cuts lawns for a living.
Right.
So, you know, I'm conceding, you know, that it's not, you know.
Not good.
So, yeah.
While we task the WAC with this, could we ask the WAC though to prioritize that and get the drought alert thing done?
That's on my list also, Jim.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'd like to get that.
Yeah, I have that
Well,
here.
Jim, they were supposed to do it Monday, this coming, but that meeting has been canceled. Hopefully we'll reschedule it soon. I'll talk to Coco after here, if she's still here. Anyway, because it's Juneteenth on Monday, and it was on next week's.
Right.
agenda. So we'll just redo it. I mean, we're all, yeah,
Are they
because the
gonna
water
meet
report
before?
wasn't
Not
good.
gonna wait a month, are they?
I hope not.
I mean, I thought they had.
I'm gonna excuse myself. I'll be right back. Let me just-
The drought.
But we do have the drought draft.
Draft,
Well,
right.
I think we just something there.
Yeah.
It was done when
It
you
was
were on
more,
WAC.
yeah, it was a complete draft.
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah.
finished. It was
Yeah.
just that we never adopted it.
I
Right,
mean, I think they need to look at it just.
Right, yeah.
I would think so.
yeah.
So I would like to see them do that. Priority.
Just that.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Okay.
One thing too that occurred to me that I meant BJ's gone, but you know, when she was talking about at what point does it not become worth the game, I would say that's when there's the risk of a really high fine.
Mhm.
You know, that if, in other words, if they're rolling the dice and it's a $300 fine, that's nothing.
Right.
If it's a $10,000 fine, then maybe, you know, that's would be a fraction of what a lot of these large ones would use in 1 year. It's not even,
Yeah, right.
you know, in other words, if you're saying, well, I might not get caught and it's half the, fine is.
Yeah, right, half the
cost
cost
of
of the water.
water,
Yeah.
or 7.
Well, I mean, the cost should be the fine should be the cost of
Your neighbor's RO system after you solve their well. I mean,
Yeah.
that's essentially the problem is like with something
Yeah.
like this, it's not just your house, it's the people around you too that are gonna have a problem.
Your rights ended your property.
Yeah, you know, like, for example, with the dewatering, I think that rule was triggered by someone dewatering to put in a pool, which salted their neighbor's
Right.
wells. And now your neighbors have a health problem.
right.
Like you have to put in something to remedy
Well,
that.
I sure will.
Yeah, so it's.
And neighbors.
Yeah,
You know what they do in
Yeah.
East Hampton about that? By the way? I know from just being on a job a while ago. They have a dewatering law, but they allow you to put in temporary dry wells and
Oh.
water into the
into the
dry
dry
well,
well.
which is interesting.
Must be pretty far away from the project.
No.
They don't have
it's-
to be. Well, I mean, it takes time for it to come through the soil, so you can, if it's not
So
gonna
you
be a.
still couldn't draw.
Yeah.
You still could
That was-
draw so much before it actually filters back that you would still cause a problem, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you really try to avoid dewatering if you can.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
It's such a hassle and a problem.
Just to realize that that pool is 9 feet deep in the deep end. And it's a stone's throw, literally a stone's throw from the water. And that fire hoses this big with huge pumps were pumping for days to
That's-
water that.
That's how
That's
you kill a well.
Hundreds of, maybe millions of gallons of water into the bay to get down to pour that foundation. I mean, a 9-foot depth, they were down 11 feet.
That could easily be well over 1 million gallons.
Yeah,
That's right.
it was nonstop. You know,
And that's how you end up with the problem.
because
They didn't pump that overboard though. They went to the pond.
With the historical
Yeah.
society that went into the pond.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
talking about the swimming pool that caused the
Oh,
initial dewatering.
oh,
law.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one home, it was a bunch of homes
Right.
around there.
Wow.
I got that.
Okay. All right. So we're going to wait on the WAC for their report on that. Then the last one I have for you, Reed, was we had made a presentation on building fees, and you were just going to check it with, your whole group and go over it. So whenever you're ready to come back to us.
Right, I've done all right, let's go.
Hand it out.
Yes.
Would this be a good time to ask him some questions, or you want to do that another time?
Haven't had a chance to look at it.
No, let's put it on for a separate item.
Yeah.
So we'll put it on for next week.
And there were some ones where I had questions or wanted
Yes.
Yeah.
policy from you all about it, but some of the stuff in red.
So that's on for next week too.
Okay. Let's see.
At some point, we should sort of sort out some of the fees and licensing as concerns accessory apartments, long-term rentals and short-term rentals, because now we're in this funny gray zone with the accessory apartments. And we have accessory apartments and long-term rentals, and the accessory apartment law, I think, probably needs to be revised because it says you can only do like 4 or 5.
Right.
And I think we have 4 accessory apartment licenses in total. It's kind of something you just never.
Yeah,
It's not working.
No.
no, it's,
But it is part of the housing.
Right.
yeah.
And then the really last, I'm sorry.
Just out of curiosity, the hardship ones on the short-term rentals, where you could rent once a week. Do we have any on record for this last year or so?
Yeah, we've definitely, I don't know about hardship ones.
Owner occupied.
We have
Owner occupied.
Owner occupied. Yeah, no, we definitely have some of those. I don't know how many, that's actually Michael's more or less ready to present.
That was the last thing I was gonna say,
Yeah.
is if we can put that on for as soon as, I mean, I'll put it on for next week too, if you're making a building department thing.
Yeah, he watched and I half watched from across the room, a presentation actually by Granicus. Interesting, because it was one of those things where it's like seeing a driver's ed video accidents, they scare the hell out of you, about rentals and liability.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And
Thank you very much.
And that one question that you posed to me, I think, with the rental is the idea in our short-term rental law, that self-evaluation where the person gets it notarized and says that we've done the following 15 things: smoke detector, carbon monoxide, this, that, and the other thing. And then you brought up the thing saying,
It's a disaster.
it's a disaster. What should happen if there's a catastrophic injury? If the town is issuing a permit, I guess, of sorts here.
We're regulating but not regulating.
We're regulating, but not regulating.
a wink and a nod from the,
But
we
can
really-
this be in Michael's purview?
but we should not talk any further because it's not really on the agenda.
Yeah.
So, because the.
I just want to, if he's coming back,
Oh, no,
I
absolutely.
just want that addressed.
So it's another Reed meeting. We're expecting.
Circling back to the irrigation thing, Mary Ellen's email said there used to be an irrigation committee. Is that something that we want to reconstitute?
I think let's wait to hear from the WAC.
Yeah.
Let's get,
Yeah, I mean, we did have one every year. I know I was on it, Paul was on it, our attorney was on it. But I
Looked over our resolutions at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we never did one.
We didn't actually reconstitute that one for some reason.
Okay. All right, so we'll wait and see what WMAC said, or MAC,
WAC.
WAC, so many letters.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reed.
All right.
Okay, next on the agenda is our meeting schedule. We had discussed this a couple of times. DJ was proposing that we have 3 Tuesday work sessions and the 4th one be the town board meeting.
And fill in, the idea too, maybe one of our work sessions becomes a short town board meeting at the end for bills only, because Dottie had said once a month for bills was too few. We would miss too many. And so, and 2 weeks might be too quick, but at least 2 weeks gives the opportunity. It would be, one work session, and the 4th meeting of the month is the real town board meeting. But anyway, it would give the opportunity for some bills to get paid that didn't get captured in the bigger bill paying meeting. That would just be a possible solution, Dottie, to your objection. And then the idea too of maybe making half the meetings in the evening, the true evening, not 4 o'clock, but the evening after work, 6 p.m. if no other. And in any event, to get away from Friday. Because I actually don't think it serves the public either. I really don't. I think there was a time that it did, and I don't think it does anymore on Friday.
If we keep the Zoom option open, then
Right.
people can participate.
Unless you're in transit. And that's the only thing that, so many of our, community members are people who are part-time but they're still community members and.
No, what I'm saying is the Friday, the rationale had been so people. could
Right.
get here.
Oh, right.
So if we do it
Oh,
on a Tuesday evening and they can zoom in,
right.
we've
then
now allowed them participation. And they, we've taken away that concern.
Definitely.
Right.
Okay, so I'm still laying out the same.
I have no feelings on this.
I'm just trying to understand this. So we would do a meeting, how many work sessions?
3 work sessions every 3 Tuesdays. 4th Tuesday is a town board meeting.
Okay, so 3 work sessions.
And one of those work sessions has to also include a special town board meeting for bill paying
Mhm.
purposes only, unless of course we have a special permit that, like we do in our normal, we don't do it that often, but occasionally we,
Have a special meeting to approve something, like,
approve something that has a deadline,
okay,
So here's my concern. I'm just gonna
go,
put it.
I'm thinking.
Yes, yeah, your name. We finally look like we have some semblance of order with getting Dottie our information at
Oh,
a certain
yes,
time. And
yes,
Dottie getting it back to us at a certain time
yes.
for the meeting.
We did,
So how is this gonna work?
we did
with
it
that?
once, I don't know.
We don't have a great track record
We're
yet.
not on the trend
One
yet.
dot doesn't make a line, Derek.
We acknowledged we needed to do something, we did something.
No, we did. And so my view is that it actually, this enhances that. Because our final meeting is a Tuesday, before our next board meeting. It's not
A whole week.
a few days,
Right.
it's a whole week. And if we could still stick to Dottie gets everything by Thursday, so that she has Thursday and Friday to work on it, then it's posted and, Monday is not a mad scramble for a Tuesday town board meeting. I know I'm giving up one meeting and so it becomes longer, but, because we're giving up one work session. But,
Logistically.
so maybe we could cut down on the chitter chatter.
I think from my end, another day would be great from the work session to the deadline.
Mhm.
Just saying,
Yeah.
because sometimes there's a lot of work that we do
Right.
and that needs to be translated into resolutions and
Right.
things like that. And I think we could use an extra day if that's possible to work in to any change in the schedule.
Dottie, before the town board chimes in, what are your thoughts on this? Practicality wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it might work. We could give it a try, but when you have an extra meeting and an extra Tuesday in a month too, you got a bigger span there. But that doesn't happen very often, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable with if we did a special meeting in between, we'd be okay on the bills?
As long as it's okay with Rob, yes.
Rob,
Right.
and how about, can't we do this as a test? And at any time, anybody could cry uncle? It's not working?
Well,
You know?
you want a little consistency for the public.
Yeah, no, I meant to the end of the year. Like this would be something to try for this year
To
and
the
then
organizational.
until reorg. And then we can say, that was terrific, let's keep. Or look, no, there was
So-
enough glitches. What do you think? I think the public can be flexible,
I have some feelings about this. If we were going to go in this route, rather than go 3-1, I would rather go 2-2-1. And I would like to make.
What's 2-1?
2-1 is work session, Friday meeting on a Tuesday. Work session. You keep it the same thing. You don't have to do that. Yeah, the modification on my mind would be the Tuesday work session truly becomes a work session. So if I take a look at the time that we're here in the morning, getting here ready for a 1 o'clock meeting, which is over at 3:30, and then go into executive session forever. I would like to take the executive sessions and really narrow the focus of the executive sessions. I would like to get more work done during the work session. So Tuesday would become a meaningful day. So I would not mind sitting down here with a full agenda, not 2 items, but we have to go through 8 or 9 items, get them done in a timely fashion from 1 to 4 o'clock or 1 to 4:30. If I have to go 3.5 hours, and then go into a short executive session for whatever that item might be for a half hour, 45 minutes. We're still out of here at the same time. And then the third meeting would become strictly the Friday meeting would become that meeting. I personally would like to, I think then you're hitting the bills every 3 weeks. You're making much better use of of our work sessions, making them more productive, more robust, and in preparation for those things. You're eliminating a Friday meeting. You're giving the town attorney that extra time to get those resolutions and stuff done. Dottie is not going to be negatively impacted by it. We're going to stay on a 3-week focus for bills. But I personally, that executive session wise, when you come to our hours, and you'd have to all admit, I've been here for 7 years, and those executive sessions need to be relooked, and they need to be shortened, and we need more work done in work session. That's my personal belief.
Yeah.
And it would be the same amount of time. We'd be more productive. We'd get more work done in a shorter period of time. That's my feeling.
So we're reducing our number of work sessions.
So the town board meeting would still be every third week,
Right.
and we're concentrating the work sessions.
Yes. On work sessions.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just feel like sometimes our work sessions are so full, if we take one away, we're gonna make them the other remaining ones.
Well, it's not that we're taking it away, it's just that it's gonna take longer to get to the town board meeting. It'll be another week, you know what I mean? Because we're gonna do 2 weeks worth of stuff, go to a town board meeting, as opposed to 3 weeks and rush the town board meeting after
Well,
the third one.
the other way to do it, which Stephen has told us happens in other towns, is to do two, what did you say, 2 and 1? 2 and 1, but that third week, it's a shortened work session prior to the board meeting, which nothing is going to flow from that work session into that board meeting.
I don't have any
But we
problem.
could like just say, okay,
that
so work session begins that day at 4:30. And we have, works or 5 or whatever we say, the work sessions, for an hour to cover a few topics.
Right.
So it doesn't build up so much.
Anything that's gonna be on that.
No. And so we don't cover as much. I think that I'm just trying to
It's
get
an
to what.
emergency.
Yeah.
It could be an exception. It could be an exception, and that's,
Right.
sometimes like in Southold, they have 2 meetings basically a month. They have a work session in the morning and they have town board meeting, work session in the morning. So they have 2 town board meetings a month and 2 work sessions a month. And they would have the work sessions first thing in the morning and last typically like 4 hours.
7 o'clock. Let's do it early.
Then they take their
Yes.
break. And a lot of times, things that were discussed in work session, then we were doing a hurry up during the town attorney's office to get it on for the town board meeting. So it can be used as a vehicle to expedite things and get things done the same day. But if we're talking about it here where it's only like an app, not
Yeah,
even any
no.
time, it's just adding an extra work session right before. I think that is helpful.
It's
And
more to just have a,
it also gets the juices flowing for the town board meeting.
right.
I would concede now, I think, and rethinking what you said, BJ, I would go with the Tuesday, 1 o'clock, Tuesday, 4:30, and 6 o'clock town board meeting, and on a Tuesday.
Mhm.
And you'd still have the 3 and the 1,
Mhm.
but nothing that comes up on that Tuesday, the day of the.
Unless it's really
Unless
emergency.
it's an emergency of sorts, would go on, at 6 o'clock meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, that can be doable.
Yeah,
And you do eliminate the Friday.
especially now that we all have to be here.
Well, I'll be very honest with you. The number of, and this is for people that are debating running for public office and for council position in particular. I never remembered having, 24, 26, 28 committees. We've got committee heavy. So as I said yesterday, and I named them, I'm on 11 of them. They're time outside the town board. So it's not like you're not going to other meetings. You're going to meetings, and some of them require me twice a month to go to. So I'm going to 12, 13 meetings, sometimes more, other than town board meetings.
Right.
So, you got to be a little realistic with the job. And I think that if you eliminate the Friday, you can stick with Tuesdays, you go 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, you're in great shape, and you've consolidated. You've also made it feasible for people on that third Tuesday to come to a 4:30 meeting after work and not have to come to a 1 o'clock meeting.
And
then a town board meeting at 6 that might be more convenient for them to be able to attend as well. So,
Yeah.
and it eliminates that, it goes from the 5 meetings to 4 meetings usually, unless it's an odd month. Where the Tuesdays are.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When Southwold does their double meetings a day, how late do they stay there at night?
Well, they alternate. They either have a 4 o'clock or a 7 o'clock town board meeting.
Been to the 7 o'clock
That's not the
one?
answer to my question.
Well, no, if it's 4 o'clock, it depends on the agenda. Like it could be.
The 7 o'clock one, because they were doing something with their accessory apartment law, and so I wanted involved, and I went to see like what topics and things like that, knowing that we were coming to do that here a month or so later. And I believe we got out of there at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it depends if
It
there's.
was a hot topic.
Yeah, if there's controversial things on the agenda, they can last
Yeah.
forever. That's why you have time limits. 3 minutes, time limit to speak.
Okay, so I,
Like to do is maybe like have 1 or 2 of us on the board sit down with Dottie and go through like what a proposed calendar would look
Right.
like in the transition.
Okay.
Because I think we really need to think through
That's a great idea.
like
Yeah, I'm
how it would
trying
play
to
out.
visualize it all in my calendar and I'm going, okay, so maybe you want to here and we bump the time to there. And then you have a planning board that night. You have, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Meg, do you want to sit down and do it with me and we'll grab Dottie?
We can look at it, but I'd like to move that town board meeting from 4:30 to like 6 o'clock.
That's it, yeah.
Because I think
Yes.
4:30 is an awkward time for everybody
Yes.
because most people don't get out of work till 5.
It would be 4:30 work session that day, 6 o'clock town board.
I would almost say a little earlier on the work session.
Okay.
Right.
Like to
'Cause you want a
afford
gap.
Everybody a break to get dinner. Ourselves and public who would be attending,
Yes.
both because we don't want to show up angry.
Right.
Yes.
No, we
And
don't.
so, so that's, if we really do this, I mean, then we actually were talking about not a reduction in hours of meetings. We're just, I think, rationalizing how we're doing the meetings. Right?
so let's just make it clear to the public, because we keep hearing if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's not broke,
No,
just trying to make it better,
right,
trying to make it all available, more accessible to the public,
right,
more efficient for us.
right.
Okay.
Right, and we love our jobs, but doesn't mean they can't be a little bit more conducive to a life.
Yeah, and also looking at the July 1st meeting,
Yeah,
we weren't thinking about it. Now I'm like, oh gosh, that's the same weekend as July 4th weekend.
It
So
is.
The public that wants to attend may have family in, or they may be traveling, it's just all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not.
And nobody spoke up about that when we did the schedule.
Oh,
No, that's true. Nobody, did not notice it.
Yeah.
No, bump that to the 8th.
And again, we have the authority to do it and we can do it midstream.
Of course you do, yeah.
And we can amend, but we just have to amend the resolution that was issued at the organizational meeting, setting the dates. And we'll just do that.
That's the easy part, Stephen.
So the next step is Amber and Meg are gonna look at the schedule, try to work it, then bring it to Dottie, and the 3 of them will go over it and figure out,
I'm
And I support him
Suggest the
a little
first
earlier to
half.
get dinner or something with the 20.
June 20.
It's nice.
next week also. 2 weeks.
Yeah. By the time we finish today, spend a little time, I've got
Yeah.
EMS.
Next.
Oh, yeah. We have planning board tonight too.
Yeah.
We can.
2 weeks.
Can we get it on next week's work session then? As a chit chat?
Oh, you gotta have a meeting before that so you can adopt it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
We're just going to present it so we can talk about it and the public can look at it.
and Meg and Amber have a chat, then you all need to come back to the rest of us and say, this is what you've figured out. That it will work, it won't work, this are the hiccups.
Okay.
So can we talk about it again next
We
week?
can get it done before
Yeah.
next week.
Okay.
So
All right.
Maybe some
Great.
potential
Okay.
calendars.
Schedule next week.
We can, and the last thing I'm going to hit you with is that one open quarterly, you're going to try something different over the summer by just not having an agenda, and having
I wanted to tell you, I wanted to talk about,
a town hall type.
I know that, I did think of something though, Jim, in the meantime of you mentioning that. We are going to have a slew of public workshops this summer for comp plan and for the housing plan, once that gets, going, which it should be shortly. And so I really think, again, adding to our
That is a model.
burden is, I think, that would be a lot for us to do,
Yeah, okay.
as a group.
Yeah.
So can we table them till we get through
Okay.
comp plan work sessions?
Yes, I did have a suggestion.
Yeah,
On the months, there's going to be two months a year that we have 5 Tuesdays. You
yeah,
could always take that
That's a good idea.
fifth Tuesday and turn that into the town hall meeting.
we could.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not.
As
this
long as
year.
that first Tuesday's next March.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, because the first
Nice.
one-
I like the way you did that.
Yeah, the first one is in August, and
Yeah.
we're gonna have.
No, we're gonna have a lot of
Yeah,
meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, and October, same thing.
Yeah.
So it would be
I think
next.
so, in March.
Good idea. Okay,
All right.
okay, next on the agenda, we had 2 special permit applications at the town board meeting. The first one was electronic plant care, Freddie Hyatt for Jasper Road. The second was 3 Pandy.
So 2 Jasper was given to the planning board, so we don't have their recommendations yet. So should we wait for them before we have further discussion? So we'll put that aside then.
Property is cleaned up very nicely. I went by it the other day and looked at it. Very nice.
Okay, 3 Pandian.
Pandan. All right. So the last thing Matt said was the vegetation plan, right?
This is for a permit for size.
And did he do a revision stating that they are?
So we got something today.
Yeah.
It was conditions.
Oh, Matt's here.
Isn't
That
that
it's going to be conditioned space.
Yeah, so it increased the.
overall square footage?
requested relief.
Yes, from 10,000 it changed to.
There was.
To too much.
Originally.
Matt, you want to join us?
It went up.
Yeah, because they're conditioning the unconditioned building. Now we're going to condition it, so. Hey, Matt.
How are you all doing?
Andy?
And what did you send us? You sent us some today, Matt?
Today was something on a different project that I sent you, the response to 3 Pandian we sent the Monday after the first hearing, which was basically a quick letter that just said that we were looking to increase the square foot living area we were looking for, and I'm pulling up the numbers now. But basically, we're adding the 1,000 square feet. That's the first floor of the pool house, excluding a separate section, which is just purely storage. So what it ends up doing is bringing the request on square foot living area, upgrading that request, and I'm pulling up the numbers right now. So I can.
10,868.
Yeah, there you go. So basically, everything else remained the exact same. I had added the cut and fill calculations and a couple other details that had come out of some of the questions that the CAC and the planning board had just prior to the hearing. So I had added those to that revised drawing that I had sent in on the 23rd, I think it was.
So basically, the footprint remained the same from what he originally proposed. It just conditioned
Right.
the gym ping pong area.
Right.
And because it makes sense for that to be conditioned because it's right next to an AC compressor. And we knew at a certain point there was going to be AC in there because who wants to work out in 100 degrees? So he's just cleaned that up and cured it.
Matt, right now, the basement is not finished, right?
That's good. Well, there's a small portion in the basement that is finished. Let's see, I can get it for you. It's on the floor plans. There's the majority of the basement is storage area, but there is like a small family room, for lack of a better description. For the purposes of our sanitary design, we counted it as a bedroom for the health department, even though it's not a bedroom. But yeah, there is a small portion in the basement that is finished space.
All right. Just because, there's a couple of things. I've just been thinking that we all know that sometimes over time, you have square footage creep. And I was just wondering how the town board would feel about saying, well, if the base, we're already here far above what we like, which is 6,000 square feet. We don't want in a few years this basement to be finished either. Would there be such a thing as limiting the height of the basement so that to finish it would be unlikely? So it's an 8-foot high basement instead of a 12-foot high basement?
Or you just condition it that the basement.
I know, but we do that, and I'm not sure that it hasn't happened.
No, but again, if you say limit it from 11 to 8.
Yeah, like the ceiling height is 11, it becomes an 8-foot ceiling height, which means finishing it would be less likely.
Which is a traditional old style basement.
Is the,
Yeah,
so you could do.
you could, but I'm saying if you're starting with the basement, that's 11 or 12, more likely. I don't know. It's just a thought. There's that. The other thing is, why did we do the 6,000 square feet? As
Since they're in special permit application.
right, but
Anything over 6,000.
right, but it's never really limited anybody, has it?
Well, I think that the majority, in my observation, of requests come with bigger parcels. Like 6,000 for a 1 acre parcel. In this case, it's a 3 acre.
3 acre. So there's a percentage of
So
coverage.
the beach was a 6 acre parcel.
Right. So the percentage of lot coverage
It's less than.
is less, less than if you subdivide
They
it.
could have- In theory, they could have, on that property, there could be 3 6,000 square feet.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah, people that have, we experimented that with, what was the name of the thing that we call that thing? The size of the house that we had a term for it. Well,
Oh, you mean scaling it to the?
we had a
To
term.
property size? It was like.
Acreage averaging?
No, it was.
Proportionality?
Proportion, yeah, so-
Proportionality.
No, it was proportionality. I think that was the term that we were using. And
Can I
when you
jump
start,
in on that discussion real quick?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
you
I
always
mean,
would-
obviously not, it's a bigger picture than this specific application. But when the special exemption permit lot size versus building size discussion had occurred, they first put it in at 8,000 square feet. And then people were building larger houses and then coming back to finish off a basement. And then they were getting even larger than the original intent. And one of the things that the town had tried to do at the time was do exactly what Jim was talking about there with that proportionality. How big is the house compared to the lot size? And the house sizes were just becoming absurd because you got a 3 acre parcel. You've got a very small proportion of that going to building size, and you're having 20,000 square foot houses being allowed by code. So that's when they put in the 6,000 limit. And they said that we're not saying people can't build over 6,000, just they're going to. We want an extra layer of review. And that's basically where this whole process came out. And I think to what Jerry had said as well is everyone that I've seen or that I've been involved with have all been in significantly larger properties than what the zone would otherwise allow. So, we're not looking, somebody's not coming up with a 3/4 acre property in Hay Beach trying to put a 10,000 square foot house on it. It's just not happening. It's these larger 2, 3, 4 acre properties where we're seeing most of these houses and these applications.
the formula almost always failed because an acre is 43,000 and change, right? 43,000.
It's about an acre, 40, 42.
43,000, I
That's
think.
exact. Usually it's 40.
250.
40 is what's,
Somewhere. So if you multiply that times 3, you're talking about 120, 130,000 square feet of the property,
Yeah.
for the, and if you took 10% of that, you're talking about a house that's 13,000. If you said
Yeah, right.
10 of the property can be built on, 90% can't be built on, just 10% on a 3 acre lot, you're talking about a 13,000 square foot house. So that's why that number of proportionality always worked against you on large lot sizes. On smaller lot sizes, you might be able to get away with something on that. But even there, it's kind of tricky because on 40,000, you put a 4,000 square foot house, no more than that on an acre. But it means, when you get to larger lot sizes, the numbers had to come down. It couldn't be 10% anymore. You had to go down to 8% or 7% to get it down under 10,000.
Yeah.
you know, if you wanted to go maximum 8,000 square foot on a 3-acre parcel.
Yeah.
That's the thing you get caught up with proportionality.
Any other questions for Matt?
Have all my notes. Matt, what's the bedroom count and the bathroom count on this?
11
11
bedrooms, sorry. I don't have a bathroom count.
Yep, I had it on my notes. If you'd have asked me during the hearing, I would have had it right in front of me. I'll have to pull it up and I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have counted prior, and so I had it on.
It's 11 bedrooms. Like the health, the health department goes by bedroom count. So their county has 11 bedrooms. Including the pool, cabana and all that.
I really would like the applicant to try to move that beautiful tree with the bird's nest in it. Can we put that in the stipulation?
I had talked to them and talked to Christian Clark, who's doing the work on there for them. And that is definitely something that they're planning on doing. I can't make any commitments for it, obviously, at this point. I know they can't touch it until the birds are gone, but that, the owner she's a minimalist when it comes to the vegetation. So she's going to take those cherries that are there now and move them around, flank the driveway and whatnot. And you'll basically just keep the vegetation that's on site without doing much more than that. But yes, we had brought it up, especially after seeing the planning board's memo. We brought it up to them, and they're certainly open to doing what they can to try and keep that tree.
What type of tree is that, Matt?
It's a weeping,
I don't know what it is.
might be a weeping cherry, is it? Maybe, I don't know. Or a weeping birch, I don't know.
Probably a weeping willow.
Is it a willow?
No, I don't know.
Pictures on the.
Flowers.
Matt, you have the well designed for a low flow pump, right? And then do you have a large holding tank for that, I'm assuming, because you're gonna have a demand?
Yeah, we got 300-gallon tank and a 5-gallon per minute well pump. Yeah.
Okay.
So this site, when they did the subdivision here just a few years ago, the test wells all showed that there was adequate water depth. So there's plenty of water quantity at this location. So really the low flow pump is, it's not as justified here as it is in other locations, but for the purposes of consistency with some of these waterfront parcels with these larger buildings, we put it in there as part of the design.
Okay, thanks.
And also to clarify on the bedroom count, the sanitary design is for 11 bedrooms. There's 7 bedrooms in the house. And without getting into the weeds too much in the details, the health department basically tells you for any single family dwelling, you can have a family room, a living room, a dining room, and a kitchen. Any other kind of usable room is going to be considered a bedroom. So we've got the basement sitting area is considered a bedroom. There's a home office. So there's these other rooms that are not going to be used as bedrooms and aren't designed as bedrooms, but because they're out of the ordinary, I guess is the best way to say it, the health department has this designed to them as bedrooms. So the design is for an 11-bedroom system, as Meg had said, but the actual true design of the building is for a 7-bedroom residence.
Okay. Anything else?
Did we give the groundwater impact evaluation to Joe to review?
Not that I'm aware of. Right. Yeah. Matt, you're saying yes?
I submitted it. Yeah, that went in with the special permit application package. I don't know if Joe got it or not, but it was.
Yes, we should pass that on to Joe.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I am good on that one. I don't have anything else.
Okay, but we're not going to act on it until the next board meeting.
No.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes,
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Stephen, you can start drafting this. We just need to get your conditions.
Yes.
Okay, next on the list is online mooring processing charges.
Yeah, I sort of dropped this, not intentionally. just for those reasons that you drop things. And anyway, Dot, I needed to ask you about this. So the online moorings charges $6, that's it, per application or renewal, which is, I would say just a very fair price. And I think that the town board wants the applicant to pay that. But I'm not sure, and maybe it's not even my purview, so that might, you can very well say that to me, but I can't visualize how that would happen. I guess it would be like a credit card fee, like, if it was $200 to buy, to apply for something, and then you wanted to use a credit card, you would have to say it was $200 plus the 3% fee. So is that how you handle the credit cards? And, you add a fee on top of that for people? And would we do the same for online mooring? I just want to get a sense of how complicated this would be.
You want to answer that, Amber?
Listening for that.
Okay.
That is.
Amber says you have to add it right on the top. So
You
instead
have to
of
do what?
add the extra fee right on top.
Right on top. So it is that simple then. Okay. So it doesn't sound too complicated in other
Wait,
words.
when you say the fee right on top, can we say there's a 3% credit card fee, or is it, we have to give them a hard number?
Or is there an extra credit card fee on top of that too?
Yeah, because this isn't the credit card fee.
Actually, it's both topics really, it's whenever we want to charge a fee sort of on top of the fee, it's really what we're talking about. So you're saying it would go on top. Sorry.
Yeah. So a renewal will be add $6 or whatever you want to add to it, right?
Okay. And so that's the same as with the credit cards, how they're done now, that it's people are aware that they're paying for their own credit card usage, really, right? And I was just wondering, you don't get pushback on that, do you? That was the other kind of question I had. Do people mind that? I mean, I know they love it.
We haven't had any complaints. We haven't had complaints along the way.
Because at the tax receivers, they actually are grateful for the ease of it. I do know that when Anne Marie instituted that a few years ago, fee or not, it's nice to have the convenience.
Price of gas, if that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So not for today, but hopefully we'll get back to it soon of when to start that, Dottie, and all of that. But I just wanted to get that question out in the open.
Just online moorings, it's anything.
Anything for a credit card is one topic,
Right.
but Dot's already doing that. And then online mooring fee, it's just because it's a flat fee as opposed to a percentage.
So just so I understand, so for online mooring, they charge $6 for the renewal.
And for the application, or for the original app.
So is
And the town.
application, like, for example, let's say the application fee is $20. So online mooring charges $26.
Yeah.
$6 processing fee.
Right, but they haven't been. The town has been picking up the $6.
Okay, so-
And I want to change that,
Okay.
that I think it's fair
Right.
and not onerous
No, without a
for the
doubt.
applicant to cover that fee.
Unless we raise the fee $6.
Well,
Right,
that's the
you
other
should
one.
consider that whenever you decide to raise the fee, because you talked about that a while back.
Right. Exactly.
We set the fee via resolution. So do we have a resolution that set the most recent fee? Dot?
We talked about raising the fees before.
No.
Right.
What's the?
Right.
I want to know. I want to see the pending resolution that controls for the
They
fee.
didn't do a pending resolution. They talked about it, but they did not do a resolution on it yet.
Okay, no. But at some point there was a resolution that set the fee, right?
Set which fee? The actual renewal
Mooring
fee?
application. No, the application fee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
So that's is what we would have to amend
Right.
to
Yeah,
increase.
that's no problem.
Okay.
You would
Okay.
also- you would also have to add that there's going to be a credit card fee percentage use.
Yeah, we could add.
Right.
credit card.
Otherwise, they're going to say you didn't warn me.
Right. No, on the online moorings, but you have a template for that on some of your other fees. So
Yes, whatever
you-
the merchant charges, yes.
Ever have pulled up the receipt for taxes
Yeah.
and it says right on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, e-check.
Yeah.
$1.75 credit card, 2.45%, which I think is a blended rate for
Yeah.
whether you're using Amex Visa or MasterCard. And I believe the rec department is also adding the credit card
Adding the fee.
on top.
Yeah,
So if people want to avoid the fee, then they just bring a check in.
right, or mail, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So, and it still becomes the.
Venmo is the
users.
next stop.
So I think we probably should get ready to start discussing this because before we know it, we'll be in budget season.
Yes,
We're gonna raise the mooring fees. We should have.
right, we should be talking about it. Yes, we should.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for the agenda items. We can go around the table. BJ, you want to start?
Taylor's Island this morning. They're such a great group. I was going to say their meetings are a joy. And they are on top of things. You know, it's a tough environment that they face out there with, you know, deterioration of the building, and they're on it. I think that Shelter Island in general should take great pride in the fact that this group of people manages that little island. There's really nothing to report. Second Saturday, keep it on your calendars. We're doing probably have the same thing at the wine garden, the White Oak Wine Garden, as a fundraiser for Taylor's Island. It was fabulous last year, second Saturday of August. It was fabulous last year. It will be fabulous again this year, and everybody needs to come to help raise money for the windows.
And that's the fundraisers for the foundation.
For the foundation, now for the town, that's right.
Contributes the money to the town. to
Yes.
make sure it's okay. Just to be perfectly clear, who's fundraisers.
Yes, that's it exactly.
Second Saturday, that's.
Second Saturday, the 13th. It used to be the lobster bake, and not to say we wouldn't go back to the lobster bake sometime, but lobsters will have to come down in price for that to happen. Yesterday was the CPF meeting. We introduced a new process, which is actually pretty close to the old process, except it was that yesterday?
Monday. Yeah.
Yes, Monday.
Yeah.
They meet at 8:30. Lovely. AM. But the town board has given the CPF a new process to mull over, see if they like it, if it will improve the procedure of identifying and acquiring properties where there's just a better communication. And it does shift, I have to say, a little bit more of the communication responsibility from the town liaison to the CPF chair or whoever the chair might designate from the CPF committee to keep the town board involved. And that being that rather than filter it through a liaison, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. We just had a four-legged visitor. Followed by his keeper.
The procedure that you drafted is based on pretty much what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it includes all the things that we really should be doing, not only legally, but just as good stewards.
And again, it goes back to BJ, the thing we keep reminding everyone, people say, well, that's how you do it, but that's not what the law says.
Right.
So we're trying to.
Right.
This is what the law says, and it's also a way to, again, foster communication between the town board and the CPF.
Well, yeah.
And have a better flow of exchange of, ideas on properties.
Frankly, this came up. Why do a formalized process? This came up because Gordon, rightly so, said, yeah, but when you guys turn down an idea, we don't know. Unless we tuned in that day it's usually executive session. So there's no even tuning in. And the liaison comes back and says, oh yeah, they didn't like it for this reason. Right? It was just very loosey-goosey and he was not comfortable with that. And I cannot blame him because if he gets definite, reasons, then he can say the next property that comes along, they didn't like that one for this reason. They're not going to like this one either. So let's table it and move on to, it gives him some guidelines going forward as to what we're looking for, what he should be looking for.
And it keeps everybody on the same page.
Right. So I think it's good. Now there was a little bit of, we're getting a little formal and a little, sort of government-y here. But, it's almost a black and white choice. You're either loosey-goosey or you're formalized.
You have to be formalized.
Yeah, we're going to get formalized.
Well, and it's also one of those processes, it involves a lot of different attorneys. Contracts. There's a lot
of moving parts.
Correctly.
Yes.
Public hearings, you need to make sure it's proper notice. There's a lot that goes into it, so it needs to be organized.
Right.
It needs to be concise.
And the more voices, my view, the more voices involved in the process, the less of a chance that somebody's going to forget something or drop the ball on some important item. Maybe I'm speaking only for myself here, but I just think that, memory is a funny thing or whatever. It's just better that more of us are involved, more involved from the beginning.
Well,
I
if
think
you have-
I commented on that yesterday morning about the conversation, communication being a two-way street.
Yeah.
And we can't, as town board members, complain that, we're not getting that if we're not providing it as well.
Right.
So it does have, and that's true with CAC.
Yeah.
But I did straighten that out last time. I will do that in my report, but we do have to improve communication and do truly make it a two-way street.
One of the, yes.
So that committees know which direction they should be heading in and which directions they probably shouldn't be heading in.
Right. And one thing that I'm finding though, Jim, is, and this also is one of the things that fed into this process, is when I'm and it's my manner, but that's all right. It's my manner. When I give people on some committees a negative, what they don't want to hear, but I believe it's the sense of the board, they don't want to accept it. They want to come to the board themselves, or they want more listening, or it's sometimes not enough. So with this formalized procedure, maybe we'll head off a little bit of that. Yeah. And maybe bring back the nexus of the decision-making to the town board where it sort of belongs.
I think will also help keep track of where you are in the process. It'll really solidify that because you can have a flow sheet of how the process works. And next week you date where you are, what you've done, who you've spoken to, where it's at, who you're waiting for information from. So it can be like a continuous worksheet that really keeps track of where you are in this very complicated, maybe multi-year long process.
Right. And not the only one you're doing.
Right.
That's the other thing.
And it also creates a cradle to grave paper trail.
Yeah.
So you have the application from the outset, and then ultimately you have, a resolution, either purchasing it or a resolution stating the reasons why you don't want to purchase it.
Right. It just keeps the whole picture complete.
So that's it for me. That's all I have this week.
Amber?
I don't have anything this week.
Okay, Amber. Jim?
Last night, the CAC met at 7:30 here in Town Hall, had 5 members of our 7 show up physically. We talked about one application and a bunch of other things, but we did tackle the Valentino application at 8 Osprey Lane. It was approved by a vote of 5-0 with 3 recommendations. Those recommendations were to move the emergency generator out of the 100 feet, the AC also out of the 100 feet, and the clean out remote outside the 100-foot of wetlands. The good news was Matt Sherman, it always helps. Matt was there on the meeting. Matt heard it all. Matt was in agreement with it all. And Matt has already taken care of it all because he's come back with a new, schematic showing that all 3 of those things are in fact taken out of the 100-foot wetlands area. So it's very helpful to have him present for those meetings. So that was that. Highbury Lane, a lot of fishing going. I guess that's a new fishing area.
It is.
So a lot of people going down there.
There must have been
we just have
40 people there the other
we just have 1 or 2 people that love to swim there. It's not a swim area. So when they asked to post signs about staying out of the swim area, I don't think we can actually do that because it's a beach area. It's not a swim area.
Right.
So we were a little handcuffed by that. I think if the people are parking legally and they have and they have their permits and everything and they're parked legally, there's not a heck of a lot. The idea that we're getting fish hooks in the water and I swim in that area, well, from what I gather, there are pretty strong currents along that area as well. And it's maybe not a safe swimming area. So
it's not technically a bathing.
No, it's not. So that answered that right there. The garden club, I have a number for Joan Bonacor, I guess, to call. The garden club has cleaned out a lot of the shed, the old shed at Dickerson Pond. So the one up front where you drive in with the path, that one is in horrible shape. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably a 3 or a 4. I think the next step is I want to call her, see if I can get her to meet with myself, Brian, and Joe and go up and take a look at the shed. If there's not much left in the shed,
Does Brian use it?
Brian doesn't use, he uses the other one, pretty much. That was pretty much for the garden club. But we've talked in the past about possibly, because it's a property that comes up on the CAC that we inspect, and it came up on the inspection, the building is getting in worse and worse shape. So it's time to take a hard look at it. So I would recommend those 4 people, meet up there. We'll take another look at that. We talked about some of the areas that we visited. We talked about marking out perimeters and surveying properties and cutting down on costs by using PVC as opposed to concrete markers, which we would do during the wintertime when the tick season is not as prominent. That was kind of it. I did follow up with the notes that I had given on 4 Dawn Lane. And I think, it came up at yesterday morning's meeting. The chairperson challenged that that the town board, he was just kind of disappointed in the town board that we didn't follow through on his recommendations. And I wanted to say that we couldn't legally because, actually when we get the correspondence back from Rob Herman, he pretty much said, we don't have to do it. We're not mandated to do it. We're not doing it. And he pretty much was pretty forceful about that. Since that time, we found out that in fact, they have found out where the septic was. They did pump the septic out and it was inspected by Shepherd, and Shepherd ruled that it was in pretty good shape. So he was happy to hear that. My next thing was to check with the building department. And so I worked off an email yesterday to read Karen saying that, do we take them at face value or do they actually submit paperwork saying, we found the septic, here's the location of it, and we pumped it out on such and such a date, and it's in good condition. So that we just substantiate the fact that we have some follow-up, but we're not just taking a person's word. We're actually following up on that since it was a recommendation by the CAC. And he talked about, I guess, what was 46 Alpha, the one over the Mashamak.
Just to follow up on that one, I think the discussion we left at the meeting was that is an issue we'll address in the future. Do we want to put the requirement of an IA system on any special permit?
That's all. It's all with discussion. Okay. All right. Yesterday's meeting, I think, went pretty well. I just would like to highlight for all the layers of
the committee meetings.
Just the committee meetings yesterday, yes, that we had here with, I think we had about 10 or 11 committee chairs here. Making use of town emails was important. We talked about, they're all volunteers. We do appreciate their time and effort, but on the same token, we do consider them a town employee. And as being a town employee, they're a member of the government and the public body, and there are expectations that come along with that job. One of it is, of course, scrutinizing attendance a little bit more. The other thing that we talked about was, when people come up for renewal on these different committees, it's all on the website now. So you know exactly when people are due. There should be no excuses for people not getting their paperwork in on time. It must happen at least a third of the time where people don't, write their letter saying they want to re-up for another 2 or 3 years, depending on what the slot is. And we want them to take care of that. But between the liaison and the chairperson, we should be able to get that done. I would like to see on every agenda, a room on the agenda for the chairperson to be able to update the committee on something of interest. I know the WAC, the WMAC does it, the CAC does it, Recreation does it. So every committee that I'm on, they have a room for the liaison to update them on anything that might be pertinent. I think it should be standardized because, again, it's a change that we've had over the course of 7 years where people, liaisons used to go to meetings and say nothing. They just sat there, took notes and reported back to the board. I think if we are going to improve communication, it's incumbent upon the chairperson to have enough faith in the liaison to be able to put them on the agenda, be able to update them on concerns that the town board may have and give them some direction. In terms of delegating responsibility, a lot of committees do take advantage of subcommittees. I think subcommittees are very good. Deer and Tick is one of them that's been very successful. Working with subcommittees and getting things done in between meetings. The fact that you only meet once a month, sometimes things just take forever to get done. A subcommittee, expedites that a lot more. The other thing I ask the chair people to do is when you're looking at your committee of 5 or 7 or whatever number of people are on your committee, if you had the dream team, and I call it the dream team because I'm a basketball coach and the term goes synonymous with basketball. If you had your dream team, how would you tailor your committee? It's something to think about. And I think we're trying to do that more in the CAC, and we really need to do that more with the WMAC. But like with the CAC, we needed somebody that was a good writer, to do work in public relations and to get articles in the paper. And, a lot of it is education, so that was important. You might need somebody strong in technology. You might need a legal background. You might need a teaching type of thing, so whatever you would tailor think about that for the future, to try to be a little bit more diverse and a little bit more, together on the goals that you're trying to accomplish, have the pieces that get you there, as opposed to just kind of 7 people or 5 people that are blueprints of one another that don't offer a lot more than just what the person next to you offers. I think that's maybe a secret here, is trying to get the right town board together that everybody brings to the town board, different types of talents. And I think that is what makes a successful town board. We talked about attendance. We talked about the open meeting laws. We talked about checking out your town email, chair people 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, members Tuesday and Thursday, twice a week. There are people that go down there that don't check their email from meeting to meeting. They go a whole month. And then right before the meeting, they get on there. They haven't checked their email in their panic situation. They start calling Christina or the recorder saying, where's this? Where's that? It's been online for weeks. You haven't seen it. I sent that to you 2 weeks ago. So it's incumbent upon people to really kind of check their emails a little bit more carefully.
That ties in with the responsiveness.
Yes.
Thing that Christina brought up, that, check your email and respond.
Right. So I think it was a fairly productive meeting. I listened to some of the concerns that they had. And the other thing I would say to the liaisons, since we're all liaisons here to over 24 committees, is rather than take all of this stuff and try to introduce it, I did it last night at the CAC meeting. I took 2 items. I hit on 2 items. The third item I did hit on was getting over to police headquarters and making sure that all 7 of you now have your badge, and that before you go visit a property, that you do make some efforts to contact the owner or the builder or somebody, letting them know. And if we could come together like the CAC, rather than one person go on a Monday, another person go on a Wednesday, another person on a Friday, if we could all go together, a lot more could be accomplished if we all coordinated that visit at the same time. So we'll try to work on that a little bit, give the people a heads up that we're coming over and with their blessings. And so a lot of people have security cameras now. And if you should be stopped, you have your badge, you can take out your wallet, you can be able to present the fact of who you are, identify yourself, so you're not trespassing on somebody's property. That's it.
Good. Thank you. It was good. It was a good meeting. Meg?
I have all my meetings this week. So we have planning board, zoning board, green options are all coming up this week. So I'll have something next week.
Stephen?
Nothing, Mr. Supervisor.
Dottie?
No, not today, thanks.
Anything in the Reporter or the Gazette?
I'm fine, thank you, Jerry.
Nothing right now. Thanks, Jerry.
Hey, Cam?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to check on this with the calendar change. Does that not have to go before a public hearing since it was already determined in January what the calendar was going to be for the year? I know you need to do a resolution, but is that
That's all.
No public hearing, just a resolution.
just a resolution? Okay, and then Pandion, you only adjourned that public hearing. You did not close that public hearing. So I'm wondering when that's going to be reconvened, and will the new documents be posted so we can see the changes that Matt put on that plan?
Where, Christina's checking, we think it was closed.
No, well, I checked my notes this morning and it was only adjourned. And then
Oh, no.
while she's checking, can I ask about the Hyatt special permit that was on the agenda, but there weren't documents? And then you were only talking about 2 Jasper Road, which wasn't on the agenda. And
That
then
is
you kind
Hyatt.
of put that off.
That's Hyatt.
That's Hyatt.
That's Hyatt?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's Fred.
It would be
Fred
very
Hyatt.
helpful, honestly, for someone who's looking at these agendas, if you keep it consistent, that I know that 2 Jasper Road is Hyatt and vice versa, because sometimes you folks switch it on the agenda and it gets very confusing to track back.
That's fair.
So that's a point well taken. Sometimes confusing for us too.
Anything else?
No, I just want to check on the Pandion. What's the story with that one?
Okay, Christina?
I am, but my computer just died.
Dottie now?
Dottie?
Dottie, do you know if we closed that one?
I'm
I believe it
trying.
was closed, yes.
I believe it.
Yeah, Dottie and Christina are saying closed, Pam. Do you want us to check and email you?
I would love that, because I made notes that day on those wetlands permits, so, other special permits and everything. So, yeah, if you could, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Christina.
I need the tracker, Christina.
Okay.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Executive session. Or do we have?
No, there's
No, there's no executive? Okay,
There's no executive.
then we're good.
Oh,
So I second that.
did we all say aye?
Aye.